Hello, for this short video, I'm joined by author and mental health expert Emma Mitchell, who has been writing and speaking about how we connect with nature and how it kind of rewires our brain, improves the chemicals of our brain and makes us feel better and feel happier. Emma, thank you very much for joining us. I'm going to ask you a quick question first about smell. So
Okay.
I find if I go out in the garden, in fact, anytime I'm out in the garden with someone, I might grab my husband or whoever happens to be visiting at the time and go, come and smell this, and thrust a leaf under their nose, because I find that smell really lifts my spirits. What's going on there when you're smelling leaves and flowers?
Oh, that's a great question. There's a lot going on. So basically, you are smelling. If it was a specific, so are you talking about a specific leaf that you will sort of thrust under someone's hooter, or are you talking about the the general smell, the lovely smell of your garden, or
It's
both?
often it could be both. I mean, I'm notorious for grabbing specific leaves and flowers, but there is a general smell as well, and
There
it
is,
varies obviously whether it's sunny or whether someone's cut the grass, whether it's just rained.
and
So
the
how
season. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So yeah, it's really exciting, a sort of little cauldron of science there. So if we think about the general scent that you might detect, particularly now that things are starting to warm up a little and a lot more flowers are starting to bloom, and there's also a lot more foliage on the plants. When I step out into my garden, and earlier on I stepped into a tiny little ribbon of woodland, and I literally just inhaled, and it was like delicious wine or something. You're inhaling an enormous cocktail of volatile compounds. And there are a few sort of groups of them that we know quite a lot about. So the first one is volatile oils from plants. Now, it's not too much of a stretch to think about these as something that will make you feel better, because you think about, there was a huge trend for aromatherapy, wasn't there, sort of in the 1980s and 90s, and it's based on that. So that there are oils that we inhale. If you think about, classic lavender or a rose, there are certain scents, and they are usually terpenes, a group of chemicals called terpenes, but things that are floating into the air, going up your nose, and they trigger a whole cascade of responses in our brains and in our bodies quite quickly. We get our pulse rate diminished. Our blood pressure will go down. I mean, this is within 10 or 15 minutes, really quick. And some tests show 5 minutes. So literally sniff something lovely or go out into your garden. Within 5 to 10 minutes, you will feel calmer. Your cortisol, which is a stress hormone released when a bear is running after you, or your boss has given you a terrible deadline and you secretly thinking is a little bit of a git. That feeling of, oh, that's cortisol, right? And we've had an awful lot of that in the last year because of the pandemic. It can be measured, and it can drop quite dramatically within 5 to 10, usually 15 minutes of just being outside in a green place. So that's, our blood system's responding, our endocrine system's responding, and because we'll have less cortisol, our brain will feel calmer. And also, if lots of Japanese research shows that we'll also feel more positive going out there. So there's an awful lot of stuff going on. And that's just one group of chemicals.
And that's just smell, isn't it? That's just smell. So
Yeah,
moving on
yeah.
to sight, is it true that when we look at cute animals, that's going to boost our spirits as well?
Yeah, so a lot of the people who might be watching are maybe quite keen birders, or at the very least having feeders in their gardens and watching blue tits and other garden birds. Now, back in September 2020, the University of Leeds released a piece of research that's really interesting. They got lots of their students just before they were going to have their exams, so their cortisol levels, their stress levels would have been pretty high.
Through the roof.
And yeah, and half of them, I'm not sure what they showed them. These were the control group. I think they maybe showed them news at 10. And the actual experimental group, they showed half an hour of quokkas, which are arguably the cutest marsupials in the world. They seem to have a little permanent smile. They hop around like a wallaby, and they're adorable. And the cortisol levels of these students, after watching quokkas for half an hour, came down. And they used the word cute in this research. And arguably, I think a blue tit is as cute as a quokka. And of course, we get them in our gardens. So I would say this needs to be done. We need to be studied a bit more, but 20 minutes of watching your feeders.
So far, we're saying get out and smell something nice.
Yeah.
Watch 20 minutes of cute animals. And what can we do coming out of the pandemic, coming out of lockdown? What's the best thing we can be doing going forward?
Well, it really is trying to, connection with nature is part of our evolution. As humans, as human animals, we evolved out there among trees and plants. That's where that was our supermarket. And it made sense that our brains gave us a mental reward when we went out to find, into the place where we would find food, medicine, and all the things we needed. Our brains literally were trying to tell us, go back out there, quick, keep going out there. But of course, now we're cooped up in a city or in an office. So if you can make it daily if possible, but as often as you can, 15 minutes of just either sitting in your garden or any green space, could be a park, could be a bit of waste ground, you will get the benefits. And it's cumulative of just inhaling nature, literally. And you may see birds, that'll give you extra benefits. And you may see patterns of leaves, those are fractals, they give you even more relaxation. So try to build in contact with nature as we would have been, get a little bit ancestral if you can.
That's absolutely perfect. So that's 3 ways that you can really feel better using nature. Thank you very much, Emma.
You're welcome, Jamie. It's lovely to chat to you.